Hey everybody, thank you for joining us today. New Hope Radio, Wednesday edition. Wasn't able to be with you yesterday, but we are here today. Live and in person, coming your way from our semi-luxurious studios of New Hope Radio here in Swansea, Massachusetts. Looks like our Florida contingent is growing. Karen is here, and Aaron has relocated. Aaron, our meter and greeter on Facebook, has relocated to sunny FLA, but he's still with us. Oh, I thank the Lord for the technology that we have, huh? Technology, even though we're separated, keeps us together, brings us together. So welcome, Aaron. Hasn't missed a beat. Kitty is with us today as well. So we're glad to have everybody checking in. Paul is checking in. And you might be listening to the radio. 1590 on the AM dial, WARV. 92.7 FM, WARV. Maybe you're streaming. Maybe you're like in Juneau, Alaska. And you're listening to www.warv.net. That's a good one, too. Yeah, then you don't have to look at me. So we are here, and I got a good topic today. Just kind of pulled one out because I'm looking at people today. People today seem to be very, very unhappy. And they're unhappy because I think a lot of them are very angry. We have a world filled with angry people. In our own nation, people are angry. We're divided politically, and we're angry. Internationally, people are angry. I was walking through a parking lot this morning looking at people, and nobody's saying hi to anybody. Everybody just looks so angry. So I want to talk about anger today, right, Debbie? She's checking in. I want to talk about anger because it's not a good thing to go through life with. As a matter of fact, you know what the Bible tells us? That if we don't learn our lessons from anger, it's going to be with us all of our lives. It can be a continual problem. I'm going to stay mostly today in the book of Proverbs as we see the wisdom of Solomon with regard to anger. Okay? So let's see what Solomon has to say. Proverbs, this might be one of those teachings that you just might want to have a little pen and paper, write down some scriptures and refer later. Proverbs 19, verse 19. I'm sure Aaron will do a good job putting them up there for you. Proverbs 19:19. A man of great anger will bear the penalty. For if you rescue him, you'll only have to do it again. And what's Solomon saying? He's saying don't make excuses for people's anger. They have to learn that if we're always excusing people's anger, they're never going to learn from it. They'll always be the same angry person. And that's not good for them. And that's not good for the people that are around them either. Because nobody wants to be around an angry person. Nobody wants to be people that are angry all the time. That's no fun. They take the joy out of life. You know, they're downers. That's for sure. You know, another biblical principle that Solomon gives us, keep whatever authority is over you, keep them from getting angry. Don't let the boss get angry. Don't let the supervisor get angry. Who's ever over you, don't let them get angry. Scripture, Proverbs 20, verse 2. The error of a king is like the growling of a lion. Woo! He who provokes him to anger forfeits his own life. Now, granted, this was written a few thousand years ago, but the principle holds true that when people that have authority over you get angry because of you, you know what? It could be like getting bit by a lion. You know, you don't want to lose your job. You don't want to lose your legacy or your testimony. The things that you work hard for, you don't want to lose them by being foolish and making your boss angry. You don't want to do that. You want to always be respectful. You don't have to agree. You have to honor the office of the king, the office of the supervisor, the office of whatever authority is over you. And you know what we have in America today? We have a breakdown of that respect. People don't respect offices anymore. They say terrible things about the police and terrible things about our governing officials. They don't respect them. They insult them. And they say very denigrating things. And I'll tell you what, that's how you get burned. That's how you get burned. That's why Solomon is saying, listen, a man of great anger, he's going to bear the penalty. So don't let those that are over you be angry, because you will bear that penalty too. How do you control someone's anger? What do you do if you're like there's someone in your life and they're always angry? Maybe you have to work side by side with them. Maybe you live with them in the same house. What do you do when someone is always angry? Well, Solomon tells us. Proverbs 15 verse 1. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word, oh man, that stirs up anger. A gentle answer. Practice responding to somebody's anger in a gentle way. Don't put gas on the fire. What are you saying? Don't put gas on the fire, because then you're both going to get burned. A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word, well, that'll stoke the fire. That'll stir up anger. Okay? This is something we have to practice. It doesn't come naturally. You know, right out of our mouth wants to come, oh yeah? Oh yeah, you? You know, you know, we love to throw it back. And what happens? It escalates. It escalates to divorce court. It escalates to the unemployment line. It escalates to worse things than that. Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that are in trouble today. And you know why they're in trouble? Because they can't control their anger. That's all. They can't control their anger. And they're bearing the penalty of that. So practice giving a gentle answer and turn away that person's wrath. Solomon also tells us, don't hang around with an angry man. If there are people that are just continually angry and you have an opportunity not to be around them, don't be around them. Proverbs 22, verse 24. Do not associate with a man given to anger, or go with a hot-tempered man. Maybe he's talking to the ladies on this one. Ladies, maybe he's a nice guy, but he's hot-headed. Solomon said, don't go out with him. Don't do it. He's not going to change. He's not going to change unless he has an epiphany, experience with God. And if he's a Christian, man, he's in deep trouble. If he's a Christian and he has a temper problem, an anger problem, he's in deep trouble. Because I don't know if he's ever going to change now, unless God really does something to him. So do not associate with a man given to anger. Or go with a hot-tempered man. Verse 25, Proverbs 22. Or you will learn his ways. In other words, you'll become like him and find a snare for yourself. What's a snare? Trap. You'll be trapped like a rat. You don't want that. You know, we have to choose our friends very, very wisely. And you want to choose your relationships very, very wisely. When you choose people to be in a relationship with you, make sure that they're people that are going to help you to grow. They're not going to hold you back. And by the way, unless you're a therapist, and even if you are, you probably don't want to be in a relationship with somebody that needs therapy all the time. I know I'm probably walking on thin ice here. But seriously, you want to be happy? Then come alongside someone that can help you to attain that. Not where they become, it's not like patient counselors, so to speak, relationship. Okay? Don't associate with somebody given to anger or with a hot-tempered man. You could put lady there too. Ladies, you know how to blow your top sometimes, I'm sure. Or you'll learn their ways and you'll find a snare for yourself. You'll be trapped. You'll be trapped like a rat. And then you can't get out. You know what else Solomon said? A continually angry person lacks intelligence. This one could get me in trouble, but remember, I didn't say it. Solomon said it. A continually angry person lacks intelligence. Now, how did Solomon say that? He said it in Ecclesiastes chapter 7 and verse 9. Do not be eager in your heart to be angry, for anger resides, here it comes, in the bosom of fools. What's he saying? Foolish people are always angry. What is a foolish person? A foolish person is a non-thinking person. A person that doesn't think. So you either think or you don't think, right? If you think, you're smart. If you don't think, you're a fool. You're foolish. Anger resides in the bosom of the person, who doesn't think. Solomon calls him a fool. Okay? So you're lacking intelligence when you're always angry. Okay? Solomon said in Proverbs 14, verse 29, he who is slow to anger has great understanding, but he who is quick-tempered exalts or magnifies or lifts up folly. What's folly? Folly is foolishness. Okay? So if you're slow to anger, it's because you're a thinking person. Somebody said something or did something, but you're thinking about it. People that indulge in road rage are not thinking people. They're not. They're foolish. Boom, they react instantly. Somebody cut them off. Boom. They don't think about, well, wait a minute. What just happened? You have to process. Best thing to do is learn how to process before you respond. Somebody that responds without processing mentally is a foolish person, and they always get in trouble. Maybe somebody cut you off, and I read a story one time. A woman went through a red light or a stop sign, and the police pulled her over, or she hit a car or something, and what's wrong with you? Why don't you see what you're doing? Why aren't you paying attention? She said, I'm so sorry. I'm going home from my husband's funeral. Her thinking wasn't straight. She just buried her husband. She's trying to make it home. I mean, you never know. You never know what people are dealing with. We have to learn to be the people that give others the benefit of the doubt. You got to try to do that. Try to work on that. Say, what? Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's something going on. Why do they make that mistake? Why do they mess up? Maybe there's a reason. Maybe there's something going on. Maybe they're the victim of abuse, mental abuse, and they're just not thinking properly. Maybe they're on their way to an appointment to get some help because they need help because they're damaged goods. You never know. You never know. It's so much better to be a thinker than a non-thinker. So much better to be intelligent than to be a fool. It's so much better. And yet, anger seems to be the way today, because the world is filled with fools. I don't care, I'll say it. The world is filled with fools. Sometimes I'm one, because I'm not a thinking person all the time. Thankfully, at least it's not all the time. Just some of the time. Okay, let's talk about controlling anger. Let's talk. How do I control? If I struggle with anger, how do I control it? Let me give you some scriptures. Proverbs 15, verse 18. A hot-tempered man stirs up strife, but the slow to anger calms a dispute. So what do? I downshift. Okay? A hot-tempered man grinds the gears. A person that's slow to anger, they downshift. They slow down. Their intention is not to escalate the dispute. Their intention is to calm the dispute. That's what they want to do. They don't want to escalate it. They want to calm it down. See, in some type of dispute, there's always one that wants to escalate. Don't be that one. Be the one that wants to calm it down, bring it to some kind of resolution. Proverbs 16:32, here's a good one. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty. You know, you think about strong people today, right? Got a lot of movies out today about, heroes. All the Superman movies and the Batman movies and the Avenger movies and, all heroes, right? That's okay. But the one that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. That person is stronger than Superman and Batman and Captain America and whoever else is out there. I don't know who they are. Iron Man, he's my favorite. He who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who captures a city. I'm like, what? If you can control yourself, that's better than capturing a whole city. Think about that. You capture a city, that's great. If you have self-control, that's even greater. That's even better. Because self-control is tougher. Oh yeah, it's more difficult. James talks about the tongue, doesn't he? Oh, that tongue, man, watch out. It'll be the death of you. He said it's like a rudder on a ship. The rudder is kind of small compared to the ship, but it steers the ship. He said that's your tongue will steer you through life. He talked about the bit in the horse's mouth, a little piece of metal. Big horse, little metal. But it steers the horse. The tongue is like that. You control the tongue, you control your destiny. Wow. I like that. If you can control your tongue, you can control your destiny. Because if you can't control your tongue, guess what? Your destiny is going in the garbage. It's going crash and burn. So you wanted to show real strength? Demonstrate real strength. And be slow to anger. That's strength. That's power. Take a city. Okay, that's good. Control your spirit. That's awesome. I think more people can take a city than more people can control their spirit. Now, there's not a lot. You look at all these protests on the news. These people are out of their minds. Talk about not being able to control their spirit. They're like, I'm telling you, there's plastic in the food. Got to be. There's got to be plastic in the food, and they're eating it, and it's blocking brain waves, and they are just like out of their minds. Out of their minds. Crazy. People are crazy today. They cannot control their spirit, and they will crash and burn. Proverbs 19, verse 11. Oh, this is about thinking. A man's discretion makes him slow to anger. And it's his glory. Oh, here it comes. You're not going to believe this one. It's his glory to overlook a transgression. That's a mouthful right there. First of all, a man's discretion makes him slow to anger. What's discretion? I don't know. I'm going to call it the ability to think through something. Right? If you have discretion, you can think through something. You're not going to spill out your emotions all over the place, but you're going to think through. That'll make you slow to anger. And it's his glory to overlook a transgression. Okay, somebody did something against you or said something against you. It's your glory to forgive it. He said, don't worry about it. Like we said, you don't know what somebody's going through. You have no clue what people deal with in their own private lives. And sometimes it comes out in mistakes and failures. So it's good to practice overlooking if you can do this. Can you overlook the faults of others. I'm not saying everything. Some things need to be corrected and addressed. But can you overlook the mistakes that some people make, even toward you? That's discretion. That's a wonderful quality. We get to the New Testament in Ephesians 4, where Paul said, verse 31, "Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and slander be put away from you, along with all malice." See, all these things are kind of like all lumped together in one basket. They're all negative feelings and thoughts. How much bitterness do you carry through life? How much wrath? How much anger? Slander? How much of that do you deal with? Do you carry? And is that in your bag of tricks? You pull that stuff out when you need it? You know, Paul said, man, let it go. He said, do this instead and see if this feels better. Be kind to one another. Tender-hearted. Forgiving each other. Oh, and here's why. Just as God in Christ is the key, has forgiven you. See, the very reason that we've been forgiven is the same reason that we now forgive others. We've been forgiven, so we forgive others. So what do you think feels better? What do you think looks better? To live in bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and malice and slander? Or does it look better and feel better to live in kindness, tenderness, forgiveness? What do you think feels better? What do you think? I think one of them makes you really good looking and the other one makes you really ugly. You ever see a bitter person? They're not good looking. You're ugly. Because when there's bitterness on your face gets all shriveled up. You look like Halloween. But when you're kind and tender, your face has beautiful radiance and it glows. And that's how people are attractive. It starts on the inside, works its way outwardly. How about James? We talked about James. James said in chapter 1, verse 19, he said, "This you know, my beloved brethren." Oh, that's a nice, kind, tender thought right there. He said, "Everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger." Oh, yeah, quick to hear. Would you say? All right, let me think about that. Slow to speak, slow to anger. You know, we have to process the things we hear. I don't do too good with that sometimes. Sometimes I hear things and boom, I respond like I didn't even think about it. And if you don't think about it first, response will probably be wrong. So I've got to work on those things. He said, this is why. For the anger of man, it doesn't achieve the righteousness of God. The anger of man doesn't get good things done. It doesn't carry out the will of God. Doesn't demonstrate the love of God or fulfill the plan of God. You know, anger kind of pushes God right out of the picture. And if you're somebody that wants to walk with God on a daily basis, you can't harbor anger. You can't. Because you're pushing God out, because God doesn't want to be around that. He's like, no, man, I don't want to be around your anger. I want to be around joy. I want to be around happiness, forgiveness, tenderness. And you know, Paul even talks to fathers, because fathers can be over the top sometimes. He said, fathers in Ephesians 6:4, do not provoke your children to anger. Fathers can be old school, and they can be abusive, and they can be the authority and the king. Doesn't work. You know what that does? It creates rebellion. Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger. Bring them up in the discipline and the instruction of the Lord. See, we can push our kids' buttons, and you can push them to rebellion. And then you blame them for rebelling, but you know what? You put them there. Fathers have to be very smart. They have to be quick to hear, they have to be quick to hear and slow to speak. You got to listen first. You got to hear it all. Especially as kids get older. They need to learn to be reasoned with. Get a reason. They want to know why. Teach them. Father's job is to teach. Teach the children. Teach them well. Bring them up in the discipline of God and the instruction. This is why, son. This is why, daughter. Here's what God says we need to do. Here's what the Bible says. This is why we do this. This is what gives us a wholesome life, a fulfilled life, a contented life, a life that's worth living. See, when you push the buttons of other people, you can't blame them for their responses. You have to blame yourself for pushing their buttons. You know, Paul even said, husbands, live with your wives in an understanding way. You understand your wife? No! Well, you better learn to understand her. Complex. She's very complex. Men, they're like, men can fix anything with a screwdriver, a wrench, and a hammer. Women, they're very complex. So Paul said you got to understand them. So there are so many, anger is the cause of many negative results in life. And if we can control the anger, we can eliminate a lot of the negative results that we bring upon ourselves. You got to control it. You got to be disciplined. Take these scriptures that Aaron has so graciously put down for you. Write them down. Read them on a regular basis. And work at it. Practice them. Watch the difference that it'll make in your life. Hey, thanks everybody for coming along today, being part of New Hope Radio. Janine, Paul, Ralph, missed you guys. Come back tomorrow. We will be here for more of New Hope Radio.